I think my path to how I am is a little similar to yours, but I
Mhm,
I I was thinking the other day because someone told me, at work, they're just like, "Are you really a chef though? Because you're so quiet and nice and like you don't go off and like
mhm,
I don't know what it is that like as soon as I got in the kitchen is like the chaos of this kitchen, even when I was a line cook, it calms me down. So
mhm,
I get in there and I zone in and like I never was a person that yelled or like got, overly aggressive. It's
mhm.
just like because it doesn't help. I need to zone in and do it.
Yeah.
And I think in my personal life sometimes, exes would probably say that wasn't the case. And so, like, not that I was a yeller, but like I would just like I would not be as composed in a relationship sometimes, like to express my feelings or take accountability. And I think teaching some kind of way shifted that what I already did at work to now I kind of like I take more accountability. I know the relationship that I'm in now, I take more accountability now than I never had before. Like and
Mhm,
it I see it being more of a positive on both sides because it's like I kind of approach it the same way. So I feel like it's kind of calmed me down to like be a better person for
mhm.
myself, which is a better person for a partner in a way.
Yeah. And you know what? You bring up a really great point. You know when you're going to be at your height of your power, right? That's in the kitchen. You understand that. You feel comfortable. You feel the most confident in that space.
Yeah.
And that's really important for people to understand. You found your power position and your comfort level at its maximum, and you're able to create at a level that's completely different than anywhere else, right? And you put on that jacket and it becomes your superpower of sorts. And you're in your place that feels confident and you're comfortable and you understand what's happening. And I think figuring out those things for yourself could help you give out that information. Right? Where are
Yes.
you the most comfortable, the most confident? Let me put on this thing, as simple as it is. I'm going to put on this thing and I feel super confident. And that's you. You found it in the kitchen. You found it in the chef coat. It's those simple combinations that you put together that you're like, okay. And our life is not the kitchen or the chef
Yeah.
coat, but some of those lessons do kind of marinate within us and kind of then expel out into our personal life.
I like the marinade. I like that what you just said there. Rubbing off on you a little bit. Cooking your way through. All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Cooking Way Through Life with me, Chef Hollywood. And today we are back talking about teaching and learning. Today I have a special co host because he has not been on the show since season one. So you got to go all the way back in the archives to hear him on the show. But he's actually the reason why I even started this show. So you need to go back and listen to that episode. But now you get to see him as well as hear him because we're on YouTube. So I'd like for him to introduce himself and then we'll get into today's episode.
Hi, everyone. My name is TJ Tecario, and yeah, it's been quite a while since we've done this, and I'm super excited to be back and having a discussion.
I don't know. It's so man, it's been so long. Like you guys already understand. TJ is one of the busiest people that I know. But like he is always doing stuff. But it actually goes into I saw Reginae Carter, Lil Wayne's daughter, saying that Lil Wayne told her that no man, and it goes for men and women, is too busy for you because he's like, my dad is one of the busiest people in the world and he still texts me, he still reaches out. And TJ still responds to messages, still like he is busy, busy, but it goes to show like when people want to show up, they show up. So
Yeah, and I think that was important. Like when I saw your email about doing the season, I really like was regretting not doing past ones. I think I just was in like a travel
yeah.
area in my career where couldn't not fly or be on a
Yeah.
in a ship or in a rehearsal or something. So I was like really regretting it, and I was like, "Gosh, I really want to do it." So then it's funny because I was thinking about it, like, I should think about podcasting, and I was like, I wonder if Drake's doing his thing still. And then literally the next day, you were like, "Do you want to do this?" I'm like pushing up my timeline, doing all these things, and I was like, "Yes,
That's
I want to do
perfect.
it."
Perfect timing.
Yeah.
Perfect timing.
Mhm.
Awesome. Well, today we are talking about teaching and learning. And I kind of chose this topic for us because TJ also, we met when he was a production manager when I worked for Holland America, but he's also a professional dancer. Do all he didn't even tell you guys half his resume, but he also understands both sides of it. And as a culinary instructor, it's cool to talk to somebody that knows both sides of teaching and learning. So
Yeah.
to go over it today. So. And as always, we are going to get into some culinary side of things. But today we're going to have a little fun, and I'm going to go through dishes or go through a dish and understand and maybe walk you through how we teach it and then how you learn it. Because as a culinary instructor, like I have to go through this all the time because I'm teaching classes, but I also have
Mhm.
to understand how people are taking it and how they're learning from me. So we're going to go through both sides of it, the same dish in two different variations today. So yeah,
Yeah, and I
have
think
a
you
little.
brought up a really great point right there is like the way people have learning processes are completely different. And I think just you highlighting two sides of it, you might have 10 people in a class and each person is going to learn exceptionally different than the person next to them. So I think this is a fun way to kind of point out the differences that people how they learn things.
Yeah. Awesome. So I'm glad. Yeah. I'm getting a little better at this. This is the first time we did it. All
No, you were
right.
great. Even the first time you did it, you were so great.
I was so nervous, and I say like I do want you guys to go back to listen to the episode, but when it was 2020, and I tell this story a lot, but like TJ was doing his podcast, and I was just like, oh, podcast, like I don't even know what that is. I really never even heard of like I knew what it like, but I never even listened to one until I heard yours, and I was like, oh, okay, and then I was just like, I mean, I could do that, but would anybody even want to listen to me talk about things and like, and
He's
yeah,
so surprised, right? Again, it's another tool that people want to learn. And
yeah.
in people's fast-paced lives, sometimes reading is not an option, or it's not that it's not an
True.
option, or they just don't have that time or that leisure to sit down and read. So when
Yeah.
you're on the go listening to podcasts, you can learn so many cool things just by having your AirPods in when you're on a flight and
Yeah.
you just want to relax a little bit. You can have that as one of the tools. I think it's so cool. I think it's a really cool.
100%. I got a 20-hour flight coming up in a couple days, so I'll probably be listening to a couple
Yeah,
things.
absolutely. Mhm.
Oh my God. So let's jump into the deep end, guys. So, first off, talking about teaching and learning, I want to start by asking, do you, TJ, do you think people are natural teachers, like you naturally know how to teach, or do you think we grow into the role over time?
I think that's a two-part question. I think there is a community of people that are natural teachers, right? There's some people that, and I think it goes into like kind of like a leader follower mentality as well. I think there's a great group of people that have a natural instinct on how to get people information in an easy
Yeah.
way. And I think it comes, I've noticed gosh, when I think about great teachers that I've had, it seems so natural and not forced. And
Yeah.
I will go and say a lot of people that I had great learnings from were mothers, right? It's that
Oh,
sect
okay.
of the community that are mothers and nurturers and wind up becoming natural leaders because they've had kids. And I'm not saying that you have to have a kid to be a natural leader by any means, but I noticed um, I've had a great leaders that have been mothers or fathers in that same exact instinct, because you really have to impart information on your kids, and
Yeah.
it kind of feels like that kind of leadership is natural for them. But I also feel like you mentioned people being um, teachers or learners. I think there's a
Mhm.
great sect of people that are interested in finding out information and continuing to learn as years go on past even our designated times of learning, which is kindergarten through 12th grade.
Yeah.
Like that's designated times for learning. But even in my in I had a short career of teaching a lifelong learning in South Florida, where this was a group of people that were in their 60s, 70s, or even beyond, that still wanted to learn. And I saw these group of people um, as exactly that, lifelong learners, right? They just
Gotcha. Okay.
loved finding out information about something they didn't know that they could then put into their Rolodex of information so that they became more cultured, quote unquote. I don't know if that's the full term that I think best suits it, but like they become people that can talk to any sort of groupings to kind of give little tidbits of information. They've got all that useful information they learned through 60, 70 years or they've wanted to learn
Yeah.
more through. So I think there's a sect of people that are great teachers, natural
Mhm.
teachers, and there's a sect of people that are natural learners. And I don't necessarily think that you have to fall into just one of those. I
Gotcha.
think
Yeah.
great learners can also be really great teachers because they've got all that they're getting all the information to pass along to those. Um, yeah, I think that there's going to be time later on in this podcast where we'll talk about like maybe like hot takes about those things. But I think overall, I think there's a great sect of for both of those
Yeah.
teachers and learners.
I kind of I fall into the same mindset too because I feel like me personally, I never saw myself as a teacher
Yeah.
until I got to culinary school. And for some reason, when I got to culinary school, like I knew that like I wanted to retire or like my last job as a culinarian, as a chef, my last
Mhm.
job I wanted to be a culinary instructor because my culinary instructors just changed my life so much.
Mhm.
Like I feel like it was there like one of them became my mentor. Like it was just such a great time. But I do feel like I've always been a learner. Like I always wanted to know more and like always like strive to know more. And I
Mhm.
think now as a teacher, being a learner helps me like be a better teacher.
Yeah,
So
I think so. And I think when you become a teacher, right? Like when you were saying you're culinary teaching, you there comes a time and a point in time and when you realize that you're there and you're going to inspire somebody. And I think that's
mhm,
super powerful, right? Because your
yeah,
teaching should hopefully be able to nurture the next generation. And generationally speaking, it could be any age. The next
yeah, yeah,
generation,
yeah.
the next sect of people that are coming in that want to know something, you hope to inspire them to spark something inside them that kind of fuels that for them to keep going and learning more.
Yeah, because I actually like you was talking about teaching older people. That's what I do now
Mhm.
mostly because working on ships. I'm a culinary instructor on ships,
Yeah,
and I mean the majority of my students are
yeah,
not in that learning age. Like but they really want to know more. Like you were saying, like they want to know more, and I'll teach people who have been cooking for longer than I've been alive. And
hmm,
like one little tip would just be like that just changed my whole thing. Like I can go home and like help like save so much time and do this and do that.
hmm,
So it's also that like inspiration, but also like that instant like you help somebody out that like giving them the information.
yeah. And those useful tips that you have for your classes, right? Those are some
Yeah.
things that sometimes I take for granted too, and I say, "Oh, this is a really corny tip. Like, I'm never gonna tell anybody." But then all of a sudden you say it, and then somebody's like, "Oh my gosh!" You're like, "Ah, I should have said it earlier. I should keep saying
Yes.
it." But you're like, "That's
Yes.
really corny," or it might seem like juvenile to you, but that
Mm.
information that's coming out of your mouth, people are there to sit in front of you for something that they don't know, right?
Yeah.
So that thing that seems juvenile to you or that information that you may have learned eons ago is brand new for that person that you're in front of. And that's what they want, right? They want the information that you have. Either
Yeah.
if they're paying for it or even if it's something like this, right? Like in a free um in a free environment, trying to find out something brand new that they can link
Yeah.
onto and then explore more from that.
100%. Like, and you're so right. Like, I tell my other chef friends, I know that when they watch like my YouTube channel on Wednesdays, I
Yeah.
do chef tips and tricks. And I was like, when you watch it, it's gonna be stuff you're gonna be like, you know this. But like it's so many people, and I'm learning now the more I'm out here with it's so many people that like the stuff that I take for granted, like the tips that I'm just like, I've been on this
Hmm.
tip forever. It's not even a tip anymore. I
Yeah.
get so many people saying, I never knew that. And so you have
Yeah.
to like push past the corniness that you think it is
Mhm.
in your field and like share that
Yeah.
information because people don't know. So
Yeah. And sometimes your tips and tricks or your teachings aren't for those people,
Oh yeah, 100%.
right? Like you're not saying professional chefs, this tip is for you, right? You're
Yeah. Yeah,
saying
no.
this tip is for your standard everyday person who's looking to
Yeah.
enhance their culinary experience, right? And
Yes.
sometimes your tip for a professional chef might be completely different than the average normal day person, right? So
Yes.
as you and I think that's something that you learn as being a teacher is how to shift the tone and the dial up or dial down the
Yeah.
conversation with the people that you're in front of, right? So it's like reading the room. I think that's a great teachers that are really good at teaching can read the room and
Mhm.
challenge each person within that room with information that they need or that can help them along the way. And I think that's a really good learning that I've along my way that I've had that kind of helped me become a better teacher and almost
Yeah.
more relaxed is knowing that I could cater to many different styles of groupings in front of me.
Yeah. I think
Mhm.
yeah, I think that's something that is definitely needed um and is unique. And I think the people that have done that in the past are the people that we do remember. Like it
Yeah.
comes to our head because we got something out of it because they took the time to read the room and make sure that we got something out of whatever we were learning. So
Yeah.
I like
And
that.
I see something really important about that that I've been thinking about heavily in the past like year or two is just because you're in front of a group of people, albeit aging population, 65 and older, or even if they're 8 to 10 year olds, the information doesn't feel like it needs to be catered up or down a lot of the times. Like we still want to deliver the information in a way that feels respectful to the people that are
Yes.
sitting there, right? And I notice it a lot when I think about younger kids. Sometimes we want to dial it down and water it down a lot, but sometimes kids are more resilient in wanting to learn than I even give them credit for sometimes. So
Yeah.
like delivering the information exactly the way it should be is sometimes is completely challenging thing because of their age. And the same thing with their aging population. Sometimes you want to deliver it in a way that feels balanced to like a
Yeah.
younger crowd as well. But realizing they're just delivering the information to them is exactly
Yeah.
what they need and want.
And they want, yeah, exactly. No, it's true. Because nobody wants to be talked down to or like,
Correct.
nobody wants that,
Yeah.
younger or older. So, yeah,
Hmm.
like that. All right,
Yeah.
switching gears just a little bit, but kind of staying in the same gear. I'll ask you personal question a
Yeah.
little bit. How has teaching shaped your identity outside of your career?
Um, well, I think I started my career. We'll back up a little bit. So I started my career as a professional dancer.
Hmm.
Right? Within that, I was a learner.
Yeah,
So I spent many years learning the art form of performing and of dancing. So I did that. And then I also went through those, we talked about it like K through 12, the standardized
yeah,
learning phases. And I went to college and I got my degree in choreography and performance. So I learned how to choreograph and perform,
yeah,
essentially. And then as I went into to my career, used my performance as ways of thinking about how I could turn that into something else, right? And
mm,
delivering ideas that I had from when I learned into real world things. So I think my career has helped me just stack up tons of information to
yeah,
get to the point where I have, previous to my job that I have currently, became a teacher,
yeah,
right? And that was a lot of years of learning, people standing in front of me, how to deliver that information that we talked about. And it just took many, many years of doing that to feel comfortable and confident in the way that I delivered information. And I
yeah,
wound up becoming a much more relaxed teacher when I started becoming more confident with all of it.
mm,
Because it's the information that I'm delivering that's important and not the way anything else. right? And I think that's the main reason why I wanted to start a podcast many handfuls ago, was because it wasn't the sound of my voice that I was battling with. It was getting the information out to other people to use
Yeah.
as a tool if they want to. So I became a really relaxed, kind of chill person when I'm in the zone that I know I'm comfortable in, which is teaching or giving information out. So I became a teacher, and I did something really cool in South Florida and Broward County where I created curriculum for teachers to deliver to their students, and I connected an arts idea with a language arts, a social studies, a science
Oh,
kind of
nice.
um, syllabus. So I
Yeah.
created both, right? So when we were talking about math or like fractions or decimals, I taught it using tap and
Hmm.
like notes from music, like whole notes, quarter notes, half notes, like how to break them down using fractions, and taught them dances so they could see how many quarter notes fit into a whole note, right?
Wow.
What it
Okay, that's really
sounds like.
cool.
And then we would use like for science, we would use like gravity, and we would use centrifugal force. So I taught them about spins. I taught them about groundwork. So I used those abilities that I had known and linked them to something that I had learned in the past to help teachers, because as we all know, not every child or every person learns in a very linear, see
No.
on board kind of fashion. So this helped kids that didn't learn like that in a new way. And my favorite thing about that process was when a teacher said my whole class had an aha moment when we talked about characters in stories, right? Because part of what I taught was how to build a character using
Yeah.
movement, right? And using these special tools that I taught them. And they were able to create scenes from a book they were reading, and they were able to use movement to sew them all through. And in front of me, I was like, oh, like this is how it all's supposed to go as a teacher, right? You inform people, then you see the result in front of you, in
Yeah.
front of your eyeballs. I think that's always been kind of a way from that point, like moving forward, was how was I going to be able to deliver information to people that felt clear, that felt necessary, that felt flexible as well. I think in my current job, I'm now a show director with Disney Live Entertainment. So I do the same thing. It's just not teaching, right? We use professionals to do the work as a student would. But again, I'm
Yeah.
delivering information accurately, efficiently, and with flexibility that feels like I can pivot and shape and mold it. And after it's already been delivered in a
Yeah.
way that could still feel positive for the whole room, right? So it's just taking each nugget that I have learned about teaching, building upon it to a
Yeah.
point where you're now delivering, utilizing the highest capacity that you can. And instead of it being a student teacher, it's a colleague or a companion or
Yeah.
somebody that's equal or even with you, right? We're all kind of delivering information in a way that feels supported for each other.
I like, and I actually feel like you explaining all that, it says a lot because that's how your personality is as
Yeah,
well. Like that, I mean, that's how, like I say, you helped me start this whole podcast is because that's how you approach it as a friend. Like
yeah,
you just like, you helped me understand what I could do and like
mhm,
showed me the way and gave me the information. And you are one of the most patient people that I know. Like I've seen you in some situations where I would
yeah,
not be patient,
yeah,
and you always keep your cool, your demeanor, and like so. I definitely see the correlation of the career to your personal life in
yeah.
that aspect.
And I think you go through. I'm not by any means am I admitting that I've always been this perfect, like cool, cool, calm, collected sort of person. I think that it all comes with that learning, right? As a teacher,
Yeah,
you learn about things that you want to do differently or that you've seen in the past. And you're like, I've got to switch that. I've got to change that. I've got to figure out what made me get to that point so that you do become really um, even tempered,
yeah,
and
yeah.
you can, in your head, work out the situation before it becomes a situation.
Yes.
all those
Yeah.
things. And I don't think our friends are exempt from getting that information as well, right? Like, I
Yeah.
wasn't not going to tell you everything that I knew about podcasting or getting into it because of, because I needed you to figure it out yourself, right? I think
Yeah. Yeah.
our friend groups are really great tools for us to learn more, teach more, feel more, like experience more because they're going to be your true. They're going to be the people that tell you how it is, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
They're going to be the people that tell you how it is, and they're going to be. I have one friend who I adore immensely, and she will tell me exactly how it is. And I'm like, you know what? And I never get mad, right? Because
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it's an instinct. Like she is teaching me something about like, oh, you should think about this. Okay, great. And I heavily consider it, and I'm always like, thank you. And I always
Yeah.
want to learn from that. But our friends should get that same information that you're delivering on your everyday life.
I think so too. I think my path to how I am is a little similar to yours, but I
Mhm,
I I was thinking the other day because someone told me at work, they're just like, "Are you really a chef though? Because you're so quiet and nice and like you don't go off and like
mhm,
I don't know what it is that like as soon as I got in the kitchen is like the chaos of this kitchen, even when I was a line cook, it calms me down. So
mhm,
I get in there and I zone in and like I never was a person that yelled or like got, overly aggressive. It's
mhm.
just like because it doesn't help. I need to zone in and do it.
Yeah.
And I think in my personal life, sometimes exes would probably say that wasn't the case. And so, like, not that I was a yeller, but like, I would just like, I would not be as composed in a
Yeah.
relationship sometimes, like to express my feelings or take accountability. And I think teaching kind of, some kind of way shifted that what I already did at work to now I kind of like I take more accountability. I know the relationship that I'm in now, I take more accountability now than I never had before. Like and
Mhm,
it I see it being more of a positive on both sides because it's like I kind of approach it the same way. So I feel like it's kind of calmed me down to like be a better person for
mhm.
myself, which is a better person for a partner in a
Yeah.
way.
And you know what? You bring up a really great point. You know when you're going to be at your height of your power, right? That's in the kitchen. You
Yeah.
understand that. You feel comfortable, you feel the most confident in that space.
Yeah.
And that's really important for people to understand. You found your power position and your comfort level at its maximum. And you are able to create at a level that's completely different than anywhere else, right?
Yeah.
And you put on that jacket and it becomes your superpower of sorts. And you're in your place that feels confident and you're comfortable and you understand what's happening. And I
Yeah.
think figuring out those things for yourself could help you give out that information, right? Where are
Yes.
you the most comfortable, the most confident? Let me put on this thing, as simple as it is. I'm going to put on this thing and I feel super confident. And that's you. You found it in the kitchen, you found it in the chef coat. It's those simple combinations that you put together that you're like, okay. And our life is not the kitchen or the chef
Yeah.
coat, but some of those lessons do kind of marinate within us and kind of then expel out into our personal life.
I like the marinade. I like that what you just did there. Rubbing off on you a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's get into some kitchen
Yeah.
news here, a little kitchen side. And actually, this one is inspired because I want to go through two different recipes and like how you look at it from both sides. And the
Sure.
first one is honestly making something so simple, I think. But then I was thinking about it and shout out to one of my favorite characters who just passed away and Catherine O'Hara who played her, Mara from Schitt's Creek. Because if you know the fold in the cheese,
Fold in
David.
the cheese. Fold. How iconic was that? Like, even when you first see that clip, you're like, this is pure genius on so many levels.
Yes, yes.
So many
But
levels.
and it made me think about like after I because I watched it so many times, but then I was
Yeah.
thinking about this episode and I was thinking about it, I was like, that's actually a perfect example of teaching something that I think is so simple. We're talking about different tips and stuff.
Yeah.
But then if you don't know, then you're literally like not as dramatic as they were, but you're like them. We're just like,
Yeah.
I'm folding. Like
Yeah.
you want me, what do you want me to do?
Yeah.
So I want to talk about making mousse because
Oh.
making mousse is one of the easiest things you can do.
Mhm.
Quick and easy dessert, and you literally just have to fold everything in. But you need to know what folding means.
You want to tell the people what folding means
I'm,
so we don't
I'm
have
going
a
to
Catherine Recta?
explain it because it's not even a lot of ingredients. I mean, the easiest, there's plenty of ways to make mousse, guys, but we're going to do most simple ingredients. So just chocolate of choice. I would say semi-sweet chocolate chips. You can melt them down in the microwave or of a double boiler, meaning you have a pot of water. Put the
Mm.
chocolate chips in a bowl on top of the pot of water and then let it slowly melt. You want heavy cream, which is going to be at least 30 to 45% fat, so you can make whipped cream. And then you're going to
Mhm.
fold in your chocolate into the heavy cream once you turn it into whipped cream. Now, we can get into other variations and other flavors, but this is just the base mousse recipe you ever make. So
Mhm.
even just going through this from a teaching standpoint, I would just tell you to get on your pot of boiling water, put your bowl on top, drop your chocolate in, and you're gonna double boil that to melt it down while you get your heavy cream, and you want to whisk it together to become whipped cream. Now I would put in a little bit of powdered sugar in here just for a little bit more sweetener here. But when you're
Mm.
whisking this together as well, I would just say whisk because that's what we do. We just give you the simple items. But I learned now as a better teacher is that when you say that, and I'm teaching 24 people, I'll see everybody do different things. So I've learned more to be more of the okay, when we're whisking, we're going to start by going side to side and we're going to add a little bit more tension to it. And
Yep.
then you start going around and around once you see it starts to form. Because the way we
Clarification.
think is
Yep.
not the way everybody thinks.
Correct. Correct. You're
So, yeah,
correct.
yeah,
You have to be clear about what you want them to do because
yes,
everybody's not going to understand that.
yeah. And it
Mhm.
kind of, I mean, I know from me, it's like one of those things where we were talking about like doing the corny tips.
Yeah.
Sometimes I will refrain from saying those kind of things because I don't want you to think that I'm, like, he don't have to tell me how to whisk, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
But
But then you
it's like, I just want to give
first
you
like hold it
information.
with two hands, like going like a washing machine, right? Like, and you're
Yes.
like,
Yes.
okay, then I have to say the thing.
Yeah, you have to say it. You do. You have to walk them through it. And
Yeah.
so that's it. We whisk it together. Once it becomes stiff peaks, which is also a technical term, but stiff peaks just mean when you can scoop it up in that whisk and it can stay on your whisk, then you see peaks. Like think the top of a mountain. This is what we're
Hmm.
going for. We're going for stiff peaks. And this is because we need to fold in chocolate. So melted chocolate needs to be folded in. And to fold things in, we just switch over from a whisk to a spatula. And when we're pouring in your chocolate, you go around the bowl, and every time you go around, you fold the bottom of the bowl to the top. Fold the bottom to the top. So you just pretty much continuously folding over your whipped cream into your chocolate. And the great thing about this is it's a great one. It's super. I mean, outside of heavy cream, if you get heavy cream on sale, this is not a very expensive dish, but it's simple ingredients. And it does teach you how to fold, which you can use when you make your macaroni. You can use when you're
Hmm.
doing it's like so many different dishes. But you know when it's done with mousse because you're turning something white into something chocolate. So as soon as it becomes that consistent chocolate color, you know that
Hmm.
everything's mixed together. You want to put this into whatever container that you like, little cute glasses or bowls or little pass around hors d'oeuvre dishes. Put it in the refrigerator, cover it, and then actually the best thing, in my opinion, is to kind of let it sit for about 30 minutes so it can set up. You have chocolate mousse. Easiest dessert you ever make. So,
So
oh,
simple.
so simple, but only if you know what fold in means.
Fold in the cheese, David.
So I like that's one of the most iconic
Yes.
episodes, but scenes in general. I love that because that show is
Uh,
amazing. That show,
that
Alexis. I'm a little bit
show is
Lexus.
incredible. Like, It really was
Yeah.
great TV. It was like textbook improv. It was really great writing, like character development, like so many great things came out of that show.
Yeah.
It's a really really good one. But I have to ask you this thing. I don't know if we're going
Yes.
on or going back or what thing. Mousse,
Yes.
simple, like a couple ingredients, pretty
Yes.
old thing. Not old. It's a pretty.
It's
It
old.
has many years on it. I was talking to some friends and I was like, something about when we grew up like with our parents doing ingredients that or like recipes that had like really few ingredients. I made one the other day and it had four ingredients and it was like a whole entree. And it had literally four ingredients. I was like, how is this even possible? Now I can't go to the store without having to get like 26 ingredients. And then
Yeah.
I have them for like 7 years. Like that little ingredient. And I'm like, how is this possible? And then I call my mom and I'm like, how do I make this thing? When as a child, we had this thing called meat upside down. I
Mm,
don't know. I don't know.
okay.
I don't know. And she's like, it's actually my aunt made it for us, and my mom. So my aunt's recipe, and then we all kind of now make it.
Yeah.
It is ground meat. I don't eat beef, so I have turkey. And I said, "What do you season with?" She's like, "Nothing." I was like, "What?"
Oh.
She's like, "You can put something on it. It's okay." I said, "So what do you?" Then you just put then you put like tomato soup, Campbell's tomato soup in it.
Yeah.
And my aunt was like, "Yeah, there's all the seasonings in there." I was like, "What?" And it's so true. I think I put like salt and pepper on it and some garlic powder on the meat. I was like, "I got to." But then you put this tomato soup on it, and it like does everything it needs to do. And then
Mm,
you do like Bisquick mix and water till it doesn't make a biscuit. It just makes like almost like a
yeah.
thick batter, and then you put dollops on the top of it. You put it in the oven for 25-30 minutes. It's done. I said that was four
Wow.
ingredients.
Wow.
How do I like how do I like fathom what we're making now when I can make something with four ingredients?
Well, okay. One, you're using turkey, so I want you, yes, please season a little bit more because that ground beef tastes different than ground turkey. I just want to say that out the gate.
Let
These
me be
things are not the
clear for
same.
everybody listening. Season the meat.
Seasoned meat. But also it's like because they were using things that are like your mom said, like if you're using a can of soup, she is right. They already seasoned that soup. So you cut out a couple, if you were to make that from scratch. I don't know if you watch like it's one lady. Shout out to her because I just don't have that much free time ever. But she like makes everything from scratch. She'd be like, "Oh, today my husband wanted cereal, so I went out and bought a wheat farm and like like."
Nora.
But
And she
yes,
wears the dresses. Bless her heart because
bless her heart, bless
she
it
was
because
like, my kids wanted Fruit Loops, so I'm making Fruit Loops. I'm like, in that ball gown? One. Fruit Loops from scratch? How long did this take you?
so, like for instance, if she was making your dish, she would make soup from scratch with
Yep.
all the seasons, with all the tomatoes, with all the things, and then she would make the biscuits from scratch with all the things, and then she would go and get the turkey and ground it with all the things. So it is a couple of ingredients, but it's because your mom was smart and she was using
Yeah.
things that already have what she needs in it. So
Yeah.
that's really
Mhm.
if you want to cut. I don't want to say cut corners, but work a little smarter than harder. You think about like what am I adding to this, and do those ingredients already exist in something else?
Yeah.
Because if you're already gonna add that kind of thing, why are you gonna add all the
Yeah.
rest of it?
And that was something that I brought up to those friends is like simple. Those times were
Yeah.
like simple cooking,
Hmm.
simple eating.
I think
Well,
simple cooking is making its way back though. Honestly, I do feel like it. Food is just like any other art form. It's trendy. Like trends come and
yeah.
go, and simple food is coming back. One because groceries are hella expensive right now. Like you just can't afford to you can't afford. And most restaurants in general, I say this all the time. Like restaurants, 90% of restaurants close every year in America. First off, most of those restaurants are not because the food isn't good. It's the other side of it. It's the numbers. It's the ordering. It's the labor costs. It's like all those things, and it costs so much as a restaurant to have 25 things that we're ordering when they don't go into the same dishes. So I have like 10 things that only go in one dish. What am I
Mhm.
using it for? Like you're at home and you're thinking that way. Imagine if you're at a restaurant and you're thinking that way. So you got
It's a
to
good
get smart
perspective
about
to
that.
that's a really great perspective. And I really like restaurants that are really small menus, right? Because
Mhm.
that means I'm very good at this thing.
Yes.
I'd rather things be very good. Okay, let's elephant in the room. Cheesecake Factory has
I was
a
just thinking Cheesecake Factory.
like a an entire um thesaurus slash gloss like an
Yes.
like dictionary size menu, but they do the things like there's so many stations that they do the thing. But when you're at like a smaller restaurant or less of a chain, like people that do the thing, I'm
Yeah.
always like, oh, this is good. Like
Yeah.
just do
Because
the
you're
thing.
focused. That's what, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
And a
yeah.
lot of times too, I tell people like when you go to those restaurants, if you ordering something and your waiter says like, "Oh, we rarely get that," do not order
Not
that. The back of the house has not made that a lot. That is not gonna be like what you think. Like, do not
do
get.
not.
I know like a lot of times you want to try the new stuff. The new stuff is fine if everybody's ordering it because we're making it. But if we're not making it a lot, you don't really want that.
Do not get it.
No, do not
No.
get that. Stay out, stay away from that. So a little tip for you guys out there too is
Yeah. Oh,
don't get it.
they have that. Oh, then nope. What's and
Exactly.
what?
Exactly. That's all you read the room. If your waiter says that, you do not get
Do not.
that. They work there and they're having a we have that on the menu. Do not
Yeah. Nope.
pivot out. All right, we're gonna switch back into the topic. I love talking to you, TJ, because it's like always nice. This one is actually one that I'm very interested in knowing from you because I think this one is each individual. But what is your biggest misconception, or what do you think is the biggest misconception that people have about being a teacher or leader?
I think the biggest misconception that people have about being a teacher or leader is that everybody can do it.
Mm.
Here's where that hot take came in, right? Earlier in the podcast, I talked to you about a hot take. I
Yes.
don't necessarily think that every learner is a good teacher.
Yeah.
There's a lot to manage when you're teaching at
Yes.
any capacity, right? So it's ultimately it's the information that you're going to deliver. Have you done the work needed to get that information to where it needs to be for that specific class or group of people or time, right? Like if you're in a 2 hour session and have you filled the amount of time that you need for a 2 hour session with the information that you're going to deliver, right? So that's one. And then delivering information. Can you be pliable and flexible about how, the way that you deliver it? So
Yeah.
if it does wind up going off script or off the way that you think it's going to go, can you handle that? And are you able and capable of being able to move and go off of that scripting? And then how people accept information, I think, tends to throw off people sometimes, right? Not everybody is going to want to receive the information that you the way that you want them to. And I
Mm-hmm.
think you have to give people credit for that. Somebody in the corner in the back is receiving the information in a way that you don't think is mm, peppy enough,
Yeah.
right? Or then you have the people sitting right in front of you who are peppy, who are right there with you, but maybe they're not getting the information exactly. So you have to give people the ability to choose how they want to receive that information. And if you're not comfortable with that, or you're not comfortable with the way that people choose to learn, I think it can
Mm.
throw you off of that, right? Because somebody in the back that you think could be having an attitude is really, that's just their learning style.
Yes.
And I have to give people that ability to learn like that. And those
Yeah.
people actually might be the people that are learning the most. I was always a backroom learner, or like a back of the room learner, because I wanted to see full picture, right? I
Yeah.
wanted to see how people are um, getting the information and how the information is being delivered to the people. Because that's a really helpful tip for me as a teacher is it how can I deliver the information better? How can I pull
Yeah.
in more people to learn? But as we're starting as a creator of entertainment, I have to give respect to the people where they want to be met. Right? So as much as I want people to learn or be involved in something, knowing that some people want to sit, some people want to stand in the back, and some people want to stand in the front right next to it, I have to give them the respect for that. And I
Yes.
think that's all part of being a good teacher is like having so many different layers about that. It's almost with great power comes responsibility, and that responsibility is there for all of those many, even more different things than that. But like ultimately, those are things that I can think of um, that not every great learner can go around and do that. But I also don't think that every learner wants to be a teacher.
True. True.
I think that that's a respect level that we have to give people that just want to learn, like meet them where they want to be met, and that person just wants to be
So
a learner,
yeah.
right? And I think with every great teacher, sometimes there's a great learner that kind of pairs with them, and there's like this mentorship, and they kind of learn back and forth for all those things. So I think there is some capacity for that as well. Yeah, so I think that's my take on teaching. Not every great, and we always said it too. Not every great dancer is a great dance teacher.
Yeah.
I think that's a great way of saying it, right?
It's
Because
a great, but yeah.
some people like being in the studio and they like learning and they like just being there doing the thing.
Hmm.
Because at some point you have to make that jump, right? Am I able to put away the learning, the doing, the repetition to deliver the information?
Yeah.
I think that's steps in your career too, right? Are you done at this level to go to the next one? Because once you go to that next one, you can't tiptoe into the one you were at. You're now at this specific level, right? And I
Yeah.
always got say that to people that want to be directors from performers, or they want to they want to teach the whatever show, right? Are you are you comfortable not being a performer anymore?
Mm.
Because once you say yes to the next level, you almost have to remove yourself from being a performer, right? Because now your
Yeah.
responsibility is a different one. When you go from a teaching role to a directing role, are you comfortable saying goodbye to all those things because now you have more tasks, you have different things to do? The fact at my I don't think I would have the capacity at this specific time to even perform doing the things that I'm directing, right? Could I
Yeah.
perform outside of this? Yes, maybe. Yeah, I probably could, right?
You
But
could.
it would take a specific project, a special thing for me to say yes to it because I need there are different needs for me to do all those things. I think that's with every level. Some people don't want to remove themselves from that classroom setting to be
Yeah.
the teacher, and that's okay. And I think
It's yeah.
again, we just give respect to those people that where they want to be met.
Yeah. I like that. I like that a
Mhm.
lot. I actually we have my biggest one is a little different, but I did want to touch on yours for a second because
Yeah.
I think that a lot of for me as coming from a chef to a chef instructor, but now that I'm a teacher, like my biggest compliment is that I'm a good teacher because
Mhm.
I never felt unconfident in cooking, but like getting the not even just the compliments, but like actually knowing people are learning. They're like, I learned something from you. It gives me such a boost of adrenaline and energy to just be like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm giving it a good shot. Because I tell people
Yeah.
all the time, I have friends that are much better chefs than me,
Yeah.
but the patience that it takes to be on the instructor side, they don't want to do. Like sometimes they just don't
Mhm.
want to do it. Like not even
Yeah.
that they can't, but they just don't want to do it. And that's why I think my biggest misconception that I think people have about teachers and leaders is that it used to be a big saying that those that can't do teach. And the older I get, I understand that, or I feel like that's completely wrong because
Mm-hmm.
my best teachers I learned from and people that I feel like are great teachers and leaders are people that actually still do and they
Mm-hmm.
actually were great when they were doing it. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that idea was just from like, oh, well, he wasn't a great dancer, so now he's a
Yeah.
teacher. And
Yeah.
I think that's completely false. I think to be a great teacher, you probably are a great dancer or a great this or because that way, like when I've learned so much from people, is because they have the input, they have
Mm-hmm.
all the knowledge, they've been learning, and they're
Yeah.
giving back what they learned. You couldn't be a sucky dancer, then be a great dance instructor, or
Mm-hmm.
like don't know how to fold in the cheese and then teach me how to,
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think we got to get out of that mindset of like, oh, you're a teacher, like, so you probably couldn't hack it. It's like, no, that probably means that like they, like you said, they wanted to move to the next level, and but they had to be really good at what they were doing to now
Mm-hmm.
teach you how to get to that level you're at.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's
Yeah.
fine.
I agree with you too, right? You have to almost like it's a on your phone, you've got a camera, right?
Hmm.
And your regular one, right? I think that's like a standard learning, right? And then you want to take it to the next level and I lied to you. Reverse this. So you're learning and you're at the 5. You're all the way in, right? I'm
Gotcha. Okay.
I'm looking at the Space Needle in Seattle. I'm driving and I'm all the way in and I can see the Space Needle and it's there, right? I feel like that's learning, right? That's the thing. That's the subject that you're doing. And then as you teach, you scroll out further, right? So you get more information. You've learned about the thing. Now you have more information. You're starting to see bigger picture. And then every step you take, you zoom out further and further. So now you've gotten more information. You've
Yeah.
learned patience. You've learned resilience. You've learned delivery. You've learned confidence. You've learned all these things. Now you can stand in front of hundreds of people and give information where you feel successful, right? And then you keep zooming out till you're point 0.5 and you're leading people
Yeah.
into large groups of people into a common goal narrowed down, right? So it's really just zooming out of that of your phone camera to get that bigger picture. I think as you get more and more into the teaching or even more and
Yeah.
more into the leadership, it really is just seeing a much bigger picture for you and the people that you're leading. And I don't think that because you couldn't cut it because you become a
Yeah.
teacher. I mean, I don't ever think that because you have to know so much to deliver that and be successful at delivering it. If I didn't have a a knowledge for all the things that made dancing important or how to use it as a tool to create stories and feelings and emotions and all those things, I would not be successful as a director in that medium, right? I use that medium to tell
Yeah.
stories. And I wouldn't be successful because I wouldn't understand all the nuances that went on with it. So there is a
Yeah.
common, like a high knowledge for all those things as you become more advanced in your teaching or directing or leading things. And I will say, I do mentorships with students and stuff, and they always say, "How do I become fill in the blank?" Like a
Hmm.
really high thing, right? How do I become a show director? And I always think that every person that I talk to should be a show director, right?
Yeah.
Every person that's in the entertainment industry that wants to do something should direct. I
Hmm.
agree. I say what do you want to do? I want to be a director. Excellent. Let me ask you a few things about your directing. Are you currently doing that? No. Well, you have to do the thing a lot of times to see one, how to do it, B, get better at it, find your voice. And then from there, you then keep doing it and you find out where you land. Right? That was a question that got asked for me when I was getting this my position that I have now with Disney Live Entertainment. What have you directed? And I said, well,
Yeah.
that's an interesting question. And you're like, you go and you're like, I've done this, and this. But you take for granted that some people want to be directors, but they're not doing the thing, right? So you
Yes.
have to do the thing to get to the next level, and you have to do that thing to get to the next level. So if you weren't the most successful dancer, but you still did the thing to
Yeah.
learn all the things you needed to get to the next level, then you're more than capable of doing that, right? You might have not had to been a superstar at it. You might have didn't need to be, winning trophies at it, but you did everything you needed to. You filled your cup up enough and all the way to where you could go to the next level. You did the thing. You kept working on the things to get there. So I always tell people that want to, I say you should.
Yeah.
But
I
are
like
you
that.
doing the thing right now?
But are you
And if
doing
you're not, go and do the thing. Find the thing you want to do, right? If you want to be a chef instructor, you have to, again, I imagine you have to be very proficient on cooking, techniques, terminology. Do those things until you feel like, okay, then you start teaching people how to do the thing. And then out over time, after you get more confident and comfortable, then you become that expert in your field of
it?
doing
Yeah.
it. Mhm.
I like that. I like that a lot. TJ is great at teaching. You see, he just puts the hat on, becomes a leader. Just but no, I love that. I love that. And like about mentoring and talking like that
Mhm.
because I mentor now a couple guys and girls who getting into the culinary field, and I I definitely try to like yeah boost them and like move them along, and I think one of the biggest things too is that they all not always but majority of them do just want to just like jump to where like I want to be where you're doing. I was like, but it's a lot of steps in between that, but you can
Mhm.
start doing this and this and this. So yeah, like you know,
But we spoke about this before, and I can't remember if we spoke about it on camera or if we didn't, right? You forget about the way somebody got to where they're at right then. You just see the sparkle and the glitter and the glamour of what's happening right there.
yeah,
But you've missed the work that it took for that person to get there, right?
yeah,
And I think we may have talked about this on the podcast is like
we might
understanding
have,
that journey
yeah,
to not align yourself exactly with the way that that's happening, but in a way that you can utilize that and say, hey, like I could do this and this and this. Maybe I'll get something like that. I might not be exactly there, but I could be at that level where I feel that I should be, knowing that I
yeah,
went this way, right? So you can see somebody's successes, but you have to see their downfalls and their unsuccessful attempts to get there to
yeah.
really learn the capacity for that.
Yeah. I think we did talk about it
Mhm.
on the podcast. I feel like you had maybe I was on your podcast. I mean you had that cool wall behind you with the colors.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember. I remember.
I have another one. I did. Well, since we talked, I've moved from Fort Lauderdale and I moved
Yeah.
full time and I moved to Orlando, which I know you're familiar with. You used to work in
I lived in
Orlando.
Orlando for a while.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and lived and worked in Orlando. So now that's my home, and I was able to not identically. It's different colors, but it's the kind of the same
Yeah.
fashion of all those things. So it's starting to slowly make its appearance as I'm getting my house fluffed
I
and
gotta come
folded and do the
I
thing.
gotta come visit.
Yes, you should definitely.
I need to. I haven't been to I was just in Florida just on the ship, but I haven't been to Florida visiting in a long
Yeah,
time, so I need to get down there for sure.
yeah. Anytime.
All right, let's get to the last big question of today for you, Mr. TJ, is has it ever been a lesson you weren't ready to understand until later in life?
It's a tricky one in a way that it's not that I can't think of like there is nothing
Mhm.
because I think as time has progressed, I speed bump over the lesson, right?
Mm,
What I was supposed to learn. I think to myself, gosh, that's how it was connected, you know? I wasn't supposed to. When I was looking for my position at Disney Live Entertainment, when I was applying for it, I had to get 99 no's for the yes that was supposed to happen, right? And through that journey, I was got the maybes and I got the yeses, but I realized I had to go through all of those hardships where people discounted me or said I wasn't ready to do this thing to get
Yeah.
to the point where I needed to be in front of the person that I needed to be in front of. Right? Understanding that because I want something right then doesn't mean it needs to happen right then for me. Allowing myself to feel right in that space and time and feeling comfortable and confident that I'm able to do my thing and just do my thing, I think is the most important thing. I want to have a timeline for myself. I think we all do, right? Like
Yeah.
in 2 years or this year, I want to be doing this thing.
Yeah.
But allowing the flexibility there for all of those things, all those no's to then go exactly where I needed to be, it I was becoming hard on myself and saying like, gosh, this is never going to happen for me. I needed it to be done by the end of the year. And I was like, it's not happening, it's not happening. Fully succumbing to all of it and then realizing, oh, all of that was there for a reason because if I would have said yes to something else, I might not be as happy in that spot. So relying on myself and the strengths that I have and almost understanding my superpower. I think everybody understanding your own superpower is important for I think success for yourself. I think
Yeah.
I always want to be that person. I'm ready to. We talked about that, right? I want to be right there. I want to do this thing. You're not ready. You're not ready. In your mind, of course you're ready. But
Yeah.
there are some steps that you need to do to get yourself ready. And that information that's told to you, you're like, I don't need that. I don't align with that. But really you're like, yeah, it's useful.
Yeah.
There are some times that I can think of, but like really they're hard to consider lessons, but I think the biggest one was my own personal adventure in finding the right space for me. And the right space and the right time will give you the ability to flourish in a way that I even am not 100% able to fathom in my own brain. Like how is this possible? How are these
Yeah.
things possible for me? But I allowed myself to sit back, relax, to get into the uncomfortable spot of knowing that my timeline was not the timeline for the universe to give me.
Yes.
But that was now I see it like I see that I needed to wait that long. I needed to feel comfortable. And then remaining really astute and acute information that you're now in power of, I think is
Mhm.
so important from that once you open that up because I can't imagine seeing myself anyplace else. People are like, "Are you happy?" And I'm always like, more than happy, like without like even a click in my brain. Like it just comes out of my mouth. Yes, I'm happy. Do I travel a lot? Do I am I away from home a lot? Am I have I made sacrifices in my life to do that? Yeah, absolutely I am. But I don't imagine myself wanting to create any other way than given the opportunity to create a lot, plentiful amounts, right? There
Yeah.
are hard times. We learn from those hard times in things that we do in our life, in our career, in the world, but it only makes us stronger as human beings for all those
Yeah.
things. You become resilient. You learn how to talk to people better. You learn how to, communicate. You learn how to act in specific ways and how to I don't know. It just becomes an even bigger learning tool
Yeah.
Did I did I not completely answer the question? Maybe.
You did. You did though. You did though, in a way. And honestly, you made me think so much because I love that you're happy right now. Like even
Yeah.
when we first started off camera, I was just like, your smile is just so happy. But
Yeah.
like I feel like we're both in really good places in our life, and I actually, cause I'm in therapy, and one of the things like lately I've been able to say that. Like I've been like people ask me,
Mhm.
I'm like I'm really happy right now. But I don't know why I used to just shy away from saying I'm like I'm happy, but like but I'm it's no but right now. Like I'm really happy.
Yeah,
Like
and I think we need to normalize that amongst
yeah,
everybody in our community and in our world, right? I think we try to normalize ourselves to what's like an equal playing field, right?
yeah,
I'm happy, but I'm busy. How are you? Good, but busy.
yeah,
Um, it kind of puts you straddling the fence, right?
yes, yeah,
We've got to normalize that being happy about something that you love doing, right? Like
yes,
I love doing this. I'm
yeah.
very happy doing this. Does that mean the person that's asking me needs to be equally as happy at what they're doing? No, but that doesn't
No,
mean that we can't feel two different ways about what we're doing,
100%.
right? Yeah. So I think that that's a great thing that you're happy doing what you're doing and that you find joy because I think that's ultimately what we all need is that
Yeah.
is that happiness and that joy in our weird crazy lives that we live.
Oh, this is yeah. Life be life, and as they say,
Yeah.
as the kids say.
Yeah. It is, right?
But I definitely think we need to normalize that because for me, my lesson, I guess I would say, would actually be something that was very at the moment, and I say this because it took me years to be like, okay, I was working at this company. I won't say their name on here. I've said it before, but I won't say their name. I was, and I was the executive chef for like months, like a couple months. But then another executive chef of the whole company came in and asked me to train my replacement, and he wanted me to start over somewhere else. And I just felt like, okay, I've been doing it. Obviously, I have no issues, like blah, blah. And he told me, like, you're young, you're gonna be working hard, but like the money will come and the passion will come more, like you'll get into it, but just like go through the motion and get it done. And I think it was just like, first of all, I know it was ego a lot. Like the way he came about it, because I'm saying it very nicely. The way he came about it, the way he approached me, also dismissing what I've done and not acknowledging it and telling me to train the next person, even though I can't do the job. It was just like all these different things. And I actually quit. It's the only job I ever just like, I'm good, I'm out. What I want to give him the grace later on. I don't know that guy anymore. But now being where I am now, I feel like the money has come, the passion has come, and I am so happy in what I'm doing now
Mhm.
that I was just in Chicago with my cousin, and we were just joking around about like winning the lottery because we played the lottery was up there. And I was like, you know what's so crazy? I'm really at a point in my life where if I won the lottery, the only thing I would change right now is my flight that's coming up. I would upgrade to first class. Like, but I'm still gonna do all the things I want to do because I'm very happy in everything I'm doing. I would hire a team. This would have been a production team right now. I
Yeah.
was, but but like I wouldn't change what I'm doing because I'm very happy,
Yeah.
and I haven't felt this way probably ever, like in
Mhm.
my life like this. So it is one of those things where we should normalize it because I think we do
Yes.
kind of like shrink ourselves to kind of be like, I don't want to say I'm too happy because there's like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Normalizing being happy. I think that maybe it needs to be the theme of this, like people that are listening. We need to normalize being happy. We need to normalize being healthy mentally and physically, right? Like whatever that takes, whatever that means for you, like you said it, like therapy is a great tool. And I think people um are don't necessarily want to talk about it or like feel like there's a stigma to it, but I think we should normalize that. That's part of your journey to becoming a happier person.
yes,
And I think that that's such an amazing thing to hear from you and for everybody to kind of latch onto is like normalize that, like why
Normalize it.
would you diminish your light because somebody next to you feels that you're too much? Maybe they're not enough, right? And maybe that's the way we need to think about things is less cup half empty and more cup half full for all those
Yeah.
things.
I like it. Before we get out of here, so we're gonna leave you
Yes.
guys with some gems and stuff. I don't want you to do. I just want to do one more culinary side things, and it's actually because TJ was talking about minimal ingredients. This one is actually more about technique, and I want to talk
Mm,
about this because when I do this in classes, I feel like it is one of the hardest things to teach the home cook, and I had to kind of adjust my way of teaching it for the
mhm.
understanding. So you know that I'm telling you this for a reason and not just be like, you need to do this. And it is simply just searing your protein. So I know you don't eat steak,
No.
but we're talk about we can even do this with mushrooms. So if you don't like oh, you don't like mushrooms either, I forgot.
I don't, but continue. The
Yeah,
people, just because it's not my thing,
I know.
I
Yeah, I was
can't I
trying to make it
can't
cute.
yuck somebody's yum. Go ahead.
Well, since you don't even like mushrooms, we're gonna go back to the steak because the steak is actually we'll walk through the steak. You don't eat mushrooms anyway. Because it's a little different with tofu. So it's another technique. So I can't really say the one to one.
Go
But
for the steak.
when you're doing steak, it's very similar to doing your fish, your steak, your chicken, your pork. All of these proteins, what we're doing when we sear them is that we are getting a hot pan. You need a fat. So that's oil, that's clarified butter, that's duck fat, that's whatever fat that you want. And then you are searing it in the pan and getting a crust on it. So that's simply the technique of searing. Now, when we're doing this, because we're not getting to the other side of like, oh, do I season it? We're not talking about that. We're just searing it. When you're searing your proteins, no matter what it is, and we can do this in the pan, we can do this on the grill. As soon as it goes down into the pan, the first thing you need to make sure is your protein is dry. No excess moisture is on it because if you're taking a protein and putting it in the pan, if it's moisture on here, say you take your steak and you haven't pat it dry first, then when you go into the pan with water on it, it's going to start to steam. So it steams first because it cooks off the water, then it starts to sear. So if you see those beautiful steaks in restaurants that have a nice crust and then yours are all gray at home, is because you put it in sometimes and you didn't give it a chance to sear. It's starting to steam and then sear. And if you steam meat, guess what? It usually turns gray. So you don't want that to happen. So that's the first step is making sure that it's dry, go into the pan, and then this is the part that trips a lot of home cooks up. And this is the part that when I'm in class, they want to kill me. Once you put that steak into that pan, you do nothing. Do not touch it. Leave it alone. Go get a glass of wine. Go like do something outside of touching that steak. The biggest mistake that people make is flipping. You'll flip that steak 27 times before the minute is up. You'll just be looking at the watch. You've already flipped it back and forth. You're letting nothing happen. You're cooking. So to make sure that it cooks, you already have a heating element. It doesn't matter if you're on a gas range, electric, whatever flat top it is, you have a heating element on the grill, on your stove top. It's heating the pan, and then you put your steak in the pan to heat it up. So the only way that you can stop that process of heating is if you take it out and flip it around. So you need to make sure that you are leaving it alone. Now, what's happening right now is called the Maillard reaction. It's a chemical reaction we won't get into too deep here, but you can look it up. It's a nice little chemical reaction where your natural sugars and proteins are fusing together to form a whole completely different surface area. So you're really making it a crust. So all those natural sugars are coming together. That only happens if you leave it alone. So we're browning it, we're caramelizing it, but it's the Maillard reaction that's happening. Now, here's the thing that on the side of learning or on the side of teaching, I had to say this part, but when I'm thinking about my students, I had to remember that I'm telling them all this, but they just don't understand why. Like, what's happening? You're trusting me that this is happening, but you just like you can't see it. So, what I always say in class, and if you've taken a class with me, you already heard this, you think about it like a creme brulee. Now, this is a Maillard reaction. Creme brulee is caramelization. So I know these things are different, but visually, we are visual creatures. So If you had a creme brulee before, if you never had one, then you probably seen it on TV at least. But it's a custard with granulated sugar on top, and we take consistent heat, usually a blowtorch, and we crystallize that sugar. Now, if I come to your table tonight, TJ, and I give you a little sugar on top of your brulee,
Yeah.
and I go in and I get a little caramelization, and I stop and I have a little conversation with you, like, oh, you doing nice today. Then I go back in and try to do a little more, then I stop. And I'm just like, oh, that looks like a good little wine. And I try to finish it off again, then I stop. I create a different dessert called a mistake that is not a creme brulee because it does not actually caramelize. You actually are getting little chunks of granulated sugar, little chunks of caramelized sugar, but it's not an actual clear slate of sugar that is caramelized across the top. That's exactly what's happening to your steak in the pan. So you can't see it, but in the pan, your steak needs to be caramelized, and it can only do that if I give it consistent heat, like I should be doing to your creme brulee. So that's why you want to leave it alone, and then once you flip it, now you'll see that nice crust. Because otherwise, if I keep taking that blowtorch away, if you keep flipping it, keep taking the pan off, if you're grilling, you keep lifting up the grill, then you're essentially just moving that heat away from the creme brulee. So that's why we want you to leave it alone and let it do its job. And once you flip it over, the other thing is you just now seen in person what happens. So you've seen it with your own eyes. So the only thing you have to do now is do the same exact thing because you want it crusted on both sides. So you're just patient on one side, be patient on the other side, and that's it. Temperature wise and other things, we can get into it in another episode. I already talked about it on my YouTube channel, so you can hit up YouTube for temperatures and cooking your steaks. But essentially, searing your proteins, that's like one of the simplest things to do. We're talking about small and little ingredients. So it's just you and your protein. But you do have to do the technique and understand why so you can actually get that restaurant style protein all the way. So I know you won't be cooking steak anytime soon, TJ, but
Oh,
if you if you have any questions, now you know.
yeah. I'll cook it for somebody else. We'll see what happens.
You cook for somebody. You never know, TJ. You
You never
never
know.
know.
Mhm.
And tofu does work very similarly. The problem with tofu is what we're just talking about with the moisture. You will not get the crust that you're looking for with tofu because it does have moisture on the inside. So,
Mhm.
unfortunately, you're not doing anything wrong. It's just that if you take the same approach, your outcome won't be the same. So, you're just like, oh, well, why did it work with these things and not this? But you are doing the exact same principle. You just won't get the same crust. So if you did
Mhm.
want your tofu to have a little bit more flavor, it's great for adding a little bit more flavor. You cook tofu a lot, so you know when the tofu can absorb. Put a little
Mhm.
soy sauce in there, a little roasted sesame oil, and then as it's cooking, it's gonna change the flavor and absorb to the tofu, so it can be a little bit more intensity to it. But
Mhm.
the crust is the only thing you won't be able to get
Yeah.
unless you get a little bit of cornstarch, and you can
Mhm.
do that. Yeah, see. All
Mhm.
right. All right. Since we talked about almost everything today, what do you want to leave the people with, TJ, with if about teaching and learning, like a little last gem to drop on everybody?
I don't know. I think there's so many lessons we could learn from other people, right? Like specifically, I can think of one, which is you and I, right? I'm not a culinary expert by any means, and you're not a professional
Answer.
dancer,
No.
performer by any means, but the information is the same, right? We have the same goal, which is giving people information that we've learned along the way in a platform that is accessible to everybody. And I think that's something that we all can learn from, right? We can learn different things from any amount of people next to us, far away, extracting that information and turning it into something that's useful for ourselves. I think
Yes.
is a great piece, a great tool along the way. I work with many great directors. I make work with many great creatives, and
Mhm.
it's not what I do, but the nuggets of information that they're delivering is things that I can also do and utilize in my own lane, in my own field, right? So I think just being open to learning something new from something that may not be useful, not useful, ordinary for you, unordinary,
might be a better way of thinking about it, and figuring out how to transform it into some beneficial information for you.
I piggyback off of that because I mean what you just said about us being in different fields
Mhm.
is true, but I think being a great teacher is also what you said in the beginning is being a great learner
Yeah,
sometimes. And I've learned so much to do what I do now. I've learned from other people. Like
yeah,
even my breath control when I'm on stage now and when I'm on a microphone, I learned from singers and dancers when I worked on ships. Like I learned like doing more cardio, drinking the right things for my throat. Because for a long time, as a chef, like I never even thought about my voice being part of what
hmm
makes my career, you know. And I've had strep throat one time ever since I've been on the microphones, and I like it scared me. Well, at first I was like, oh my God, like what if I can't talk? Like I actually talk now to actually for my, career. And I think that's a misconception too, that you have to get out of your own way that I'm an accountant, so I only can learn from accountants. No, like you might learn something so beneficial from someone who does something completely opposite of you.
hmm
I've learned work ethic from different people who do different things. I learned organization from different people, like temperament, like how you, when you were my production manager, like how you would assess everybody and like the way you would approach everything. Like that is something that I try to approach when I'm talking to my teams. Like it's you should be able to pull things from so many different sources to create what you want in
yeah,
your life. So
absolutely. hmm
definitely.
hmm
All right, TJ. Well, thank you so much for joining me
Of
today.
course.
It is a pleasure for my listeners, but also a huge pleasure for me to get to hang out with you
Yeah,
and catch up some. So thank you, thank you. Can you
of
please tell
course.
everybody how to find you, what you're up to now? Because I mentioned earlier, he only told you guys a fraction of what he does. So like, TJ has a very cool job, and you probably
Yeah.
seen some stuff he's been doing, like a little parade that just happens, So tell the people.
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit. So I'm a show director with Disney Live Entertainment. What does that mean? People always have to say, what does that mean? I create entertainment from the initial thought process of what it could be into full execution. So that's anything as small or as big as the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade for 2025. I was able to direct that segment for Disney Cruise Line. And how does it go? I'll tell you the process really quickly. We come up with an idea of what's going to happen. Oh, this year we want to have villains in our show. Great. How are villains going to be introduced into it? What else is going to happen? All those ideas and those thought processes happen before we even start with anything. We knew we wanted to create a song, so I was in the process of curating that song, what it's going to be, what it's going to sound like, all the
Uh,
way to what you see it on Thanksgiving morning with the 30 plus members that you see on camera, plus the whole host of people that are backstage that you didn't see, creating the 93-second experience for people and guests to kind of enjoy. So that's what I do, and I've had the privilege of working in the past 3 years with on many things. I work predominantly with Disney Cruise Line. We create a lot of entertainment for them, and it's been a highlight of my
yeah,
career to be there and to create stuff for people of all ages. And I say people because it's young, it's aging population, it's moms, it's dads, it's everybody, right? That we can touch and have a meaningful relationship together on board under utilizing entertainment and performance as that tool.
awesome. I love it. Tell the people how to follow you and find you online.
Oh gosh, that following thing. I'm like really bad at it because we live and we work in the future. So like anything that I'm doing is many months away. So we can't even say anything about it because you don't want to ever spoil the magic for people. So you
Yeah, you
won't
don't
ever
want to spoil
find anything that I'm currently working on. But if you want to follow me, it's my handle is just my TJ Tecario at you can find me on Instagram on oddly enough, I love TikTok. I don't do it very often, but I love watching normal people live normal lives. I live in the fantasy world all the time and create fantasy things. So watching normal people like make dinner or like make a salad is like oddly satisfying for me. So I will be on TikTok, but Instagram or Facebook, like the boomer things that I have and can do. Yeah, feel free. Drop me a DM. We'll have a
Awesome.
conversation.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys. Thank you once again.
Of
Thank you guys
course.
for listening today. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, share, turn on your notifications. You have the regular cooking show that drops on Mondays, the tips and tricks that drop on Wednesday, the podcast that drops on Thursday, and then the behind the scenes that drops on Saturdays over at YouTube. So we will see you next week. Peace.
Bye.
Cooking your way. Thank you for watching today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it and maybe even learned something. You know what to do next. Please hit those like, share, and subscribe buttons below and have a great day.